Hey there, I know you were just watching Big Bang Theory. Well, check out what is coming up in just a minute. Did you know that the heads of WWE took over the Oval Office with the president? Why exactly is this happening? We are going to get you the answer. Plus, a guy who won an Olympic gold medal with a broken freaking neck and then goes on to become maybe the greatest, one of the greatest pro wrestlers in the history of the world. He's joining us on our show, Going Ringside, here in Jacksonville from our studios. So you want to stick with us. What's going on in the White House? What's going on with Kurt Angle? And so much more. You are now watching Going Ringside.
Influencing pop culture, politics, and everything in between. Taking you ringside as we discuss the crazy world that is professional wrestling. This is Going Ringside.
And welcome, CW viewers, to Going Ringside. I'm Scott Johnson, and I'm excited. We got a star-studded show for you. We even go to the Oval Office. But first, we are bringing you your Olympic hero, an interview I've been working for 2 years to get. Kurt Angle is finally here. He wins the Olympics with a broken freaking neck back in '96. And then about 2 years later, he goes to WWE as probably the most gifted athlete they've ever seen. But it wasn't as easy as I thought it was for old Kurt Angle. He said picking it all up may have seemed easy for him on television, but he had some things he needed to learn. So let's get to your Olympic hero. Here is Kurt Angle. Well, we are here with the legend himself, Kurt Angle. Kurt, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me on.
So what's going on in your world now? How are you doing?
You know what? I pretty much do this. I pay homage to my fans by coming to see them, and they always show up, and they bring their kids with them, and their kids become my fans. So I actually grow a bigger fan base because of my incredible fans. So I do about 2 appearances a month just to show my respect for them, and they always show up, and you know, it's really cool to have that type of relationship with my fans.
I was just talking to Dory Funk Jr., who said he trained you.
Yes,
is that right?
Yes. He was at the beginning of my career. He taught me a lot about pro wrestling. He was a great teacher. We had a lot of guys go through him. Christian Cage, Test, Matt Bloom, who was Prince Albert. Who else? Matt and Jeff Hardy. So he trained a lot of us.
One thing about you that I always hear is we didn't really need to train Kurt. Did you need training at all?
I needed training. They're just being nice, but I picked up on it relatively quickly. I only trained for about 7 months before I went on TV, which is literally almost impossible. And to be honest with you, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Yeah. My opponents had to leave me in the ring and call the whole entire match when we were out there wrestling. So I learned from, I had to catch on. I was learning while I was still performing, and I was getting better and better every week. And literally I became one of the best in the business probably 2 years into it.
The thing that fascinated me is everyone focuses on the physical, but you could do the promos, you could do the gimmick, you could do everything immediately, it seemed like.
Yes, and you know what's crazy is I didn't even train to do that. We didn't have OVW or NXT back then, so we had no way of preparing for TV, especially with cutting promos. And I only cut one promo in Memphis when I was training down there. And I remember when Vince McMahon wanted me to do my first promo, it was my debut. I said, Vince, I can't cut promos, I'm horrible at them. He said, well, I'm gonna give you an opportunity, either sink or swim. So he starts telling me the promo. He didn't write it down for me to memorize, which is what they do. He told me at one time, and I was listening, and I stopped listening because he went on for like 6 minutes. He said, all right, I want you to go out there and cut the promo. And I said, Vince, I didn't hear a word you said. Could you repeat it again? He said, I'll repeat it one more time. Go out there and sink or swim. It's up to you. I went out there, and I got about 80% of it right. And he said, I know I can work with this kid. This kid has ability. So he started having me cut promos every week, and week after week, they're getting longer and longer, and I'm getting better and better at them. And before I knew it, I was one of the best in the business at cutting promos. So I owe that to Vince McMahon. He pulled me out of my comfort zone early on in my career.
Vince has had a hard few years. Have you
monitored
that at all?
Yes, he has. God bless him. I have not spoken to Vince in at least 2 years. You know, I wish him well. He treated me very well. He gave me an opportunity. I'm very thankful for that.
I want to talk to you about facing off with, immediately you were with Austin, Rock,
Yeah.
Big Show.
Yeah.
You're at the top of the card every city you go to.
Yes.
What was it like? I want to start with Rock, when you and Rock, did you know what he had?
He was so entertaining. The guy was such a phenomenal athlete, and his promo skills were above everybody else's. He taught me a lot about cutting promos. He taught me a lot about wrestling in the ring. Stone Cold, Steve Austin, actually was the one guy that I learned the most from. He was one of those guys who would call the match out in the ring. You know, he's an old school wrestler.
What does that mean?
That means you don't plan a lot of it backstage. You just go out there and do it. Improvise. And he was a great improviser. Him and Triple H and Undertaker were three of the best improvisers I've ever wrestled.
Any person you ever faced who you thought could have done well in the more realistic, like an amateur wrestling, and I'm not including Brock Lesnar.
I would have said Brock.
Yes.
No, Chris Benoit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He had the ability to be a world-class wrestler. He's Canadian. If he would have pursued that, he would have been on the Canadian Olympic team.
You think he would have? He was that good?
Yeah, he was that good. Yeah.
And did you ever really like milk?
I love milk.
You do love milk?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it's my favorite drink. You know what? I had a podcast I did a couple years ago, and I was joking around. I said, you know, guys, I don't even like milk.
Yeah.
And they got out there like, Kurt Angle doesn't even like milk. And I was like, oh, my God. I'm just kidding, guys. Obviously, I do love milk.
Did the milk companies ever come to you for sponsorship?
No, we
should have.
We had something that I was doing with my PR company. We were doing a campaign for milk, but they didn't follow up on it.
They didn't follow up?
Yeah.
And who was the hardest opponent? Was it Brock?
Brock Lesnar.
He was?
He was a mixture of power, speed, agility, and he was so 300 pounds and moved like a cat. I'd never been in a ring with an athlete like that. He was an animal.
Well, Kurt Angle, it's been an absolute pleasure. Olympic hero, thank you for your time today, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I was so excited to sit down with Kurt. I think he had abilities that no one else had ever had, and you could see it as soon as he arrived. He had a lot to say, and he mentioned people like Triple H. And speaking of Triple H, coming up after the break, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon take over the Oval Office. We'll let you know why they're standing side by side with President Trump for a major announcement. Well, as you know, I do the news over at News4Jax, so I figured I'd bring you a little wrestling news here. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon take over the White House. That's them, along with President Trump and Stephanie's mom, Linda, in the Oval Office. Linda's the Secretary of Education. They joined the president for an announcement of childhood cancer. Steph and Triple H have become somewhat regulars at the White House. In this case, they were there for an announcement on childhood cancer. Stephanie spoke about a little boy named Connor McCulloch, a boy who died in 2014 shortly after WrestleMania 30, in which he was able to attend.
Mr. President, thank you very much. You've already acknowledged this incredible team here, and all of these people standing behind me were inspired by the story of a little boy named Connor McCulloch. He was a little boy who didn't want to hug me because he gave choke-out hugs. He booed his favorite nurse when she came to give his chemo, and he always worried about his dad because his dad was Connor's best friend. Connor was a WWE fan who I met after one of our big events, the Royal Rumble. You could tell he was sick. He had a big scar that was running up the back of his neck and a lump on his head, but you would never know it from his personality. He told me about the t-shirt that he was wearing that was dragging on the ground because WWE superstar Sheamus, who's 6'5", had given it to him. Underneath that was his Daniel Bryan t-shirt, and underneath that was his Skylanders t-shirt because that was his favorite toy. And as I stood up from my aforementioned chokeout hug, Connor's dad told me that he didn't have long to live. And I didn't want to believe that. I kissed him goodbye on his soft little cheek, and when he looked back at me, I made an unspoken promise to fight for him and kids just like him. Kids shouldn't even know what cancer is, let alone have to face it. And this incredible team believes that too. This executive order makes kids with cancer the first focus of AI innovation across healthcare in America. If there is one thing in the world that could bring us together, please let it be our children. Because I can almost guarantee If your child was diagnosed with cancer, you wouldn't care what party their doctor belonged to. You would just want the best. And President Trump is doing just that, enabling that every child with cancer gets the best care possible. And we couldn't be more grateful.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And I want to bring in producer Rory right now. Obviously, a touching story there about Connor, but the interesting optics. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon alongside Linda in the Oval Office. It seems like almost regularly now.
Yeah, this isn't their first time they did it. Triple H was there for, I think it was like the presidential health test. So it's going to be interesting to see how long this kind of partnership goes on. Who knows? President Trump, he could be at a WrestleMania, who knows? So it's definitely going to be interesting to see.
We'll be back in 1 second, Rory, because we are staying in our nation's capital. We are just over a month until John Cena's final match. It's slated for Saturday night's main event on NBC, December 13th. There have been multiple reports of a major star-studded event, which includes possibly having the president in attendance because it's in D.C. The first person to declare that as a guarantee was Fox News host and former WWE star Tyrus. Let's get back to the same topic, Rory. Rory's rants here. I want to brand it. If the president shows up at the event in D.C., that's kind of unprecedented.
Yeah, it'd definitely be interesting because WWE fans are very outspoken. I mean, we saw what happened with Hulk Hogan in L.A. I think we're going to see a very similar reaction if President Trump is there. WWE fans try to keep politics out of wrestling, even though wrestling is political.
And part of the country matters. This will be in D.C. as opposed to like maybe a red Florida or a blue New York. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, it definitely will. But I mean, anytime a president is at a major sporting event, even though technically wrestling is not a sport, but anytime a president is there, it's going to attract headlines. And for Cena's last match, there's going to be a lot of people coming.
We will see. And following Cena's retirement, WWE will start shifting toward its WrestleMania buildup. Of course, the coming show this year, returning to Las Vegas. But the thing that shocked fans in recent months is the news that it's heading to Saudi Arabia in 2027. A big question is whether AEW will attempt to counter-program WrestleMania with a big show in the United States, hoping they can siphon off American fans not happy. WWE's major show heads to the Middle East. Rory, this has been the talk of the industry.
It's going to be crazy because there's a lot of unanswered questions. I mean, this is the first international WrestleMania. So is the start time going to cater to the international audience, or is it going to cater to us? Because a lot of the Saudi Arabia shows are earlier in the day, like 1, 2 o'clock. So is WrestleMania going to be an afternoon show for the first time in forever? Or is it going to be a little bit later and all the Saudi Arabia fans are going to have to stay up later? So that's something that's going to be interesting to see. I'm shocked, but not shocked that it was Saudi Arabia because of their, partnership that they've had with Riyadh. But I am interested if, London is going to be next. Are we going to get, a UK WrestleMania? Everyone's been asking about it. France, who knows? Mexico, I think those have to be some that are coming down the line.
Well, finally, Seth Rollins is out for a while. The now former champ made the announcement on Halloween on the NFL Network. This comes after an injury suffered during a match with Cody Rhodes at Crown Jewel. Before we go, Rory, big loss with Seth.
Yeah, somebody on social media said Seth Rollins needs to sit his butt down and stop doing all these crazy stunts. I mean, Seth Rollins is a legend, and it's kind of sad that like every time he gets to the top, he keeps getting injured. And this isn't the first time, and it probably won't be the last time. And I just hope that, he does get a long world title run before it's all over.
Rory's rants. Thank you, Rory. Coming up after the break, AEW's Harley Cameron is here. You don't want to miss what happened when she took over the News for Jack's morning show and literal control of a crew member. Harley Cameron is next. Welcome back. So one of the people who is taking the wrestling world by storm is that woman right there, Harley Cameron, who we had over on our sister station, Channel 4, on the morning show with Bruce Hamilton. She comes in promoting a recent wrestling match over at Daly's Place. So this happened a few weeks ago. But she goes in and takes over the morning show like nobody's else, because if you didn't know, she's a puppeteer, as I think she likes to call it. But she didn't have a puppet. Look who she turned to. Here is AEW superstar. Here is Harley Cameron.
All Elite Wrestling's back in Jacksonville this week with 2 big nights of action. Dynamite Title Tuesday is tomorrow and a special collision on Wednesday. One of the stars making waves in AEW is Harley Cameron, an Australian-born wrestler, singer, and entertainer known for her high energy. And guess what? She's in the studio this morning. Hey, welcome.
Thank you. I feel like my head's going to explode. You gave me a
Why's
fantastic rap.
Oh, because of that?
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
maybe just because it's early, you haven't had coffee.
Oh, no, I've had my coffee, but you gave me a lovely introduction. Thank you, sir.
So you've had a big year this year, including
Yes.
that title match against Mercedes Moné in Australia. Wrestling for a championship in front of your hometown crowd, that had to be exciting.
It was
nerve-wracking?
fantastic. Nerve-wracking because it was so meaningful, definitely, but also just getting to go home and see my family and leaving Australia. I didn't know what I was going to do, and luckily I ended up with my dream job. So it was a very special moment. And we're going back next year, which is very exciting. We're back in February, back down under. It's a very exciting time for us.
Yeah, so you bring energy and comedy to your matches. How do you balance that with, you know, like the serious athletic side of professional matches?
I mean, a lot of caffeine, I will say that, you know? It's a lot of caffeine in the morning. No, I think that it's a lot of dedication. So a lot of training, a lot of hard work goes into wrestling and what we do. But, you know, when you're doing what you love, you put the effort in, so it comes easily when it's something you're enjoying doing.
Yeah, so you're currently working with Chris Statlander, right?
Yes, Chris Statlander.
AEW Women's World Champion.
Yes.
What's it like working with her? And what does that partnership add to the women's division?
So, Chris Statlander is fantastic. She has been a fantastic friend to me since day one, but she's honestly one of the most incredible wrestlers in the world, I will say. She trains with me all the time. She's taught me a lot, and being by her side has been so imperative for, you know, my career and my development. It's very exciting to see her have the gold, and she's doing a fantastic job. So we're represented very well with her.
So outside the ring, you're a multi-talented performer, as I mentioned, singer, dancer, and you do ventriloquism. So, well, you know, when I walked in the studio, I said, "Where's your dummy?" Because it ain't going to be me.
Dummy, it's my puppet friends, I like to say.
Friends.
Yes.
So because I was told you might do a little ventriloquism demonstration, and since you didn't bring one of your puppet friends, Ian, so ventriloquists, they throw their voices because,
right,
you know, I watched like Darcy Lynn from America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
And you can make other objects
Yes.
appear as if they're doing things.
As if they're speaking, that's correct.
So Ian has volunteered. I volunteered you, didn't I?
You ready?
Voluntold.
All right.
It was voluntold. Ian's going to be a good sport.
Yeah, why don't we do this? I'll go behind you when you feel this. Yeah, there you go. Okay, we go. And let's give you a fun accent. What about you are Australian?
Australian?
How does that sound?
Sounds good.
No, don't say anything, Harry.
Oh, wait a minute.
Ready?
Did you just do an Aussie accent?
Oh, maybe a little bit.
That's pretty good.
Just a wee bit.
That was pretty good. Okay, now ready? This is where you... And we're in.
G'day, how you going?
Oh!
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Oh my gosh, see, I didn't know you were Australian.
We did not rehearse.
Yeah.
No, we didn't do any of that.
Come on, you gotta keep up. I had no idea that you were Australian as well.
Yeah, I am.
And you're here this week, obviously, to see what?
All Elite Wrestling.
Fantastic. I'm actually here for All Elite Wrestling too myself. We have 2 fantastic shows this week, don't we?
We sure do.
But you're not going to be there. But are you going to come and watch? You're back to yourself now.
Yes.
You are? Fantastic. Tuesday or Wednesday. We've got Title Tuesday and we've got Homecoming on Wednesday. 2 very exciting shows. So I expect to see you there. Thank you so much, sir. I think that was his first time.
That wasn't even rehearsed.
That wasn't rehearsed. That's how we do it. This is the showbiz, baby.
Well, we throw him under the bus all the time. So, you know. When you're in the ring Wednesday, what do we expect?
Yes, Wednesday is going to be an exciting time. It is Homecoming at Daly's Place. I am going to be teaming with Toni Storm, the former AEW Women's World Champion, and the current Women's World Champion, Chris Statlander, who we just spoke about. We're going against the Triangle of Madness. And it is exactly how it sounds. Mad. And a triangle, because there's 3 of them.
Oh.
Yes, we've got Tekla, Sky Blue, and Julia Hart. So, you know, we're ready. Us.
You ever do a steel cage match?
I personally haven't yet, but there is.
Like to?
Oh yes.
Yeah, that'd be
I want
like...
all of it. I want put me in anything.
Man.
You know, I never thought I'd do puppetry, you know, ventriloquism in wrestling, but here we are. So I'm up for anything, you know.
Awesome. So hey, thank you so much for being here. Nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
And so that's Harley. Now, once again, that was a few weeks ago. Obviously, we told you all about that AEW show that happened around the beginning of October. But Harley, is a gift to wrestling. Comedian, you can tell. She does her puppetry, as she calls it, and so much more. So Harley is one of the ones who I think is the breakout stars of the last few years. So stick with us. We'll be right back with a little more here on Going Ringside. Welcome back. Now, if you just turned the channel here to channel 17 to watch NXT in a few minutes, don't forget the biggest stars in the world every week start here at 7:30. This week, of course, Kurt Angle was our guest and Harley Cameron from AEW. You do not want to miss it. This is where the action is every Tuesday night at 7:30. And if you do miss the show by chance, everything we do is on our YouTube channel. Let's put it on the screen, youtube.com/@GoingRingside. Go there, click that subscribe button. It's free. You don't need to download. You don't need to enter your email address. Just click that subscribe button and you can see all our interviews with the biggest stars in the world. So thank you for joining us for this episode of Going Ringside. NXT is next, and we'll see you back here next time.